Today, he gets the announcement that he's going to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. EJ Jr., first off, congratulations to you. Thank you for making us part of your afternoon and day today.
Thank you, Ryan. It's a privilege and an honor to always talk to you guys. I know you all have been busy with Alabama football, so it's an esteemed honor, and it's been a long time coming.
EJ, a little transparency here. Was there ever a frustrating time that you know that you have the credentials, you have the recognition, but you were on the ballot multiple times, and generally you've got to be on the ballot for a few times, and we've talked to you many times right here on this program. Is there a little bit of frustration that kind of goes in when you're on the ballot, but then you don't get the call? But I guess maybe that adds to the day like today. What's the mindset of that?
It's a little frustrating because the award is not about me. The award is about those guys who helped me play on great teams. And they've been well-deserved of the honor for all those years. And, it's just not me. When you look at Marty Lyons, Barry Krause, Rich Wingo, Ozzie Newsome, Coach Bryant, Sylvester Kroon, Jeff Rousey, Ken Donahue, Mal Moore. All these people had a great part of this award, and it's a team. Really, it's a team honor that goes to an individual. And to me, those guys have been deserving of this honor for so many years, and I'm just glad that it's to a point where they can be recognized as a whole.
EJ Jr., the Alabama legend, now visiting with us. How did you get the phone call? How did you find out that you had been selected to be enshrined in the College Football Hall of Fame?
It was the most unusual thing. I actually found out yesterday. Okay. My son comes in, he brings a box, and I said, well, I didn't order anything from Amazon or anything like that. And he brings it in and he says, well, I think it's for you because his name is EJ LaFour. So I thought it was something that he ordered. He says, it's not mine. I haven't ordered anything. So I look at it, and I'm kind of puzzled because, when you look at it, it kind of says the National Football Foundation. I'm like, what? So when I open it, it's a game ball for the Hall of Fame. And I still kind of look dumbfounded because it said December the 8th, 2020. Well, December the 8th is my birthday. And 2020, I'm like, that hasn't even gotten here yet. And then I had to read the inscription. I'm like, oh, my God, I finally made it. And it was breathtaking. And all I could do is just give praise to God and just a sigh of relief for all the guys who basically, I sent a text message to Chip Chiplett and Gary White, who was our academic advisor. I said, this is your all's award just as much as it's mine. Because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be considered a Hall of Famer. We're all Hall of Famers. When you look at those classes from 77 to 80, 44 wins, 4 losses, should have been 3 national championships. I still think we got ripped off my freshman year by Notre Dame when they jumped from 5th to 1st. And then we had that mediocre season of 10-2 when we lost to Mississippi State and Notre Dame. These guys put in a lot of energy, time, a lot of film, a lot of diets. The kitchen staff that used to be at Brown Hall who would fix those meals, the professors that we had on the campus, all of them are really a part of this award because I'm only as great as the people who were surrounding me. And when I look at that, it's a team honor, it's a university honor. I got off the phone with Greg Burns probably about 30 minutes ago. He was calling to congratulate me. And I was just basically telling him, I said, it's a well-deserved honor for the university.
EJ, I got to go back because I know what you do, and you've been involved with coaching and also mentoring, maybe that next group of player that might be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, the credentials. I'm curious, when you look at coaching, credit some of those guys, and you can go back to high school, you could go back, who cultivated that love of football that allowed you to develop this passion that allowed you to have success on the football field?
Ooh, we might be here all day. I mean,
take your time, man. We're on until 6 o'clock, EJ.
It started in high school, playing for Maplewood High School. I actually didn't play ball until I got into the 8th grade because my mother and my father would not allow me to play until I was big enough to play ball. So that was 12 in their mind. So when I started playing was in the 8th grade, and then got a chance to play high school ball. But I would say it was Coach Elrod, who was my head coach at Maplewood, Phil Grammer, Gerald Johnson, those guys, Coach Douglas, Coach Jackson. And then when I got to Alabama, had a young coach who was coaching defensive ends for his first year, named Sylvester Kroom, who will be going into the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. And I've been trying to get him in the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. I said, because how do you coach 6 All-Americans, on various national championship teams, and you're not in the Hall of Fame before me? Because he became the first black coach at an SEC school. Then you had Ken Donahue, Jeff Rousey, Paul Crane, Mal Moore, who was a great friend of mine, who went into the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame as I did. When I did, of course, Coach Bryant. I mean, when you think about those people, I still use Coach Bryant's message that he told me when he recruited me, and he said 2 things. He said, "I'm gonna promise you 2 things when you come to the University of Alabama." And I said, "What's that, Coach?" He says, "First of all, you're gonna get a quality education." And I'm thinking to myself, I can get a quality education anywhere. But then he says, "You come to Alabama, I'm gonna work your tail off." And that got my attention more than anything else, because it was a work ethic. He wasn't talking about how great I would be. He didn't promise me I would practice. I mean, he didn't promise I would start. He didn't even promise that I would even play at the University of Alabama. But when he says, "I'm going to work your tail off," that was a work ethic that I needed. And that was part of the convincing statement that he made to me. And, of course, I had great coaches. Sylvester Kroom was my position coach. Ken Donahue was our D coordinator, God rest his soul, one of, to me, the greatest defensive coordinator I've ever been around. And we had some great teams. The offensive guys worked us hard. When you play against Johnny Davis and Ozzie Newsome and Tony Nathan and Jeff Rutledge, and I can go on and on and on about all the guys who I played with, played against, practiced with, practiced against. Those guys helped me be better, because coming to the SEC in Alabama, I was away from home, and those guys basically created a work ethic. When we first got there, they had gone 8-3 the year before, went to the Liberty Bowl, and won that. And that's when I knew about Barry Krause and how great that he was. And I'm like, I'm coming in as a linebacker. I said, I probably won't even get a chance to play until my sophomore year. But they pushed me to be the best, and I didn't back down from challenges. And Coach Bryant allowed me to start as a freshman, and the rest is history. But we have great people, and that's what made us great.
Well, EJ, I was talking about that in the 2 o'clock hour of, and I'm not trying to take a shot at anybody else, but if you played a place like Alabama, you're almost competing against your teammates for recognition. To beat Alabama, I was looking at the College Football Hall of Fame, and there's nothing against, the other players from different universities, but to go through Alabama, to be recognized for one, just as a captain, to be able to go through your teammates and be able to be recognized by those guys, that's a high honor. To be inducted in the College Football Hall of Fame is another high honor. But to do it at a place like Alabama, as you said, you got to go through some pretty thick competition. You're going through legends and legends as you're sitting there naming those names. As you're sitting around with your son or your players there at Delaware State where you're coaching, what stories do you share about Alabama? Can you share one of those with us?
Well, the biggest one is that if you're not afraid to compete, because I got a son who's he's a 3-star. I'm back in Ohio now. He's a 3-star linebacker. Had been a running back most of his career, and I always wondered if he was going to play defense because his older brothers did a little bit. Kyle went to Bowling Green and graduated as a D lineman. He's 6'5", 295, and then EJ the fourth was a running back at UC, and then went to Tennessee State as a running back. So Cameron always wanted to play running back, and I'm like, I said, son, you can't put yourself in a box. I said, great athletes play any position, and they're not afraid for challenge. So he wasn't, starting as a running back at the high school rank. So they switched him over to linebacker his first year as a junior last year. All he did was make all-city, all-conference, all-district, second team, all-state. He has 13 offers right now. I said, if you're not afraid of a challenge, I want you. But if you're like the guy who doesn't want competition and don't want to play against the best, then I don't need you because I don't want what you have behind your left nipple. You got to have heart. And I learned that from Coach Bryant that first day. I mean, when you go through those gut checks, lining up against Johnny Davis and you're a cocky freshman and you almost get knocked out because JD runs over you and you're not afraid to go back in there and do it again, you were competing against yourself. I think the best thing we ever faced on the field was ourselves. Because if you were on the defensive side of the ball and you could stop our offense, you were doing something. Well, if you could run against our defense, you were doing something. So we, like I said, the 4 losses, we lost to a good Nebraska team. We were young, trying to figure out to establish who was playing well on defense. My sophomore year, Charles White had a good game against us. But then we didn't lose another game until my senior year. One was on a fluke play, and we could have tied the Notre Dame game if Mike Pitts decides to pick up the football instead of fall on it on a blocked field goal by yours truly. But, we competed against ourselves. So when we went into the game was easy. The practices were hard. So I tell our young men, when I coach, I said, my job is to get you prepared for life after football, which is what Coach Bryant did. And when you compete on the field, you're competing for life. There are going to be days you don't feel like going to work. There are going to be days that you don't want to go out there and do what you need to do, but you have to feed your family. You have to take responsibility and accountability for that person that you wake up with every morning called your spouse. And you have to go into that world. It doesn't care if you played at Alabama, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska. Can you get the job done? And I try to instill that in those young men because when you get into that real world, they don't care if you play football. They don't care if you're a Hall of Famer. Can you get the job done? And that's all that matters. So those are life lessons that go all the way back to Coach Bryant talking to us on those Sundays or those Monday meetings. And that still sticks in my mind and in my heart. And I try to teach young men that I coach, my son, and young people who want a chance to play this game called football.
EJ, what was it like at Alabama after a loss? Because you didn't lose many. You won 2 national titles. You're 44-4. I'm just thinking about this. You never lost to Auburn. You never lost to Tennessee. Am I right? You never lost to either one of those guys. Yeah. So you won 3 SEC titles. Just memory, if memory goes well, Alabama won 8 out of 9 in the 1970s, 8 out of 9 SEC titles. We call that domination in the Southeastern Conference. But what was it like after a loss at Alabama?
We had so many wins. I don't even remember what it was like to lose. I remember that loss after Nebraska because we had lost that game. I think it was 31-24, 35-28. And they had I.M. Hipp and Rick Steele, Rick Byrne. And Coach Bryant, actually, that's how I got my first start. After that game, we lost to Nebraska because they ran against us on the outside. Coach Bryant said I could take 2 freshmen and start them at defensive end and do better than what we did. And it was a quiet meeting because, I've never lost a game before. I think that was week 3 of the season. We had beaten Ole Miss, and I think we had beaten Georgia, and then we lost to Oklahoma in the Nebraska in the third game. So going into the Vanderbilt game, I'm starting at right defensive end, and left defensive end against two of my former teammates from high school, Frank Mordecai and Preston Brown, and I know both of those were sub 9.4 speed in the 100 yards. And we won the game, and probably was my worst grading game as a defensive end. But that started my SEC career, and I just look back at it. I don't think we even reflected on losses too much because Coach Bryant would make you feel when you won. Sometimes you felt like you lost because our second team was just as good as our first team, and you wanted to eat training table at the end of, during the week, and you're always competing. So you had to have a short memory. We lost to Southern Cal. We turned around the next week and won the next week. We lost to Mississippi State. Okay, let's get ready for the next game, which was against LSU. And then we turned around and lost to Notre Dame near the last game of the season. So losing wasn't pleasant, but we had so many victories, you don't even think about the losses. You just had to, put your shoes back on and go out there and try to learn from your mistakes and do better. And we had a group of hungry guys who didn't like losing. Now, ask me about it when I got to the NFL. I didn't know how to lose once I got to the NFL because we lost 9 games my first year, and I hadn't lost that many games in a career. So that's when I kind of got trying to understand how to lose. But at Alabama, losing wasn't a mindset.
So, EJ, when you look at it, that standard has been around at Alabama for quite a while. It's not something we just talk about, and we're looking at it now. We've went 2 years without a national title, and we feel like we're in a desert without any water going into a year. Is that fair expectations that we placed on players like you in the 70s and like we placed now? It's like if you guys don't win a national title, it's like, man, it's sad. It's disappointing. Is that fair expectations to place on a group of players and coaches in a university?
It is a high expectation because we're so used to it. I don't mean to insult the Alabama nation, but we're spoiled. We're so used to
we are. There's no doubt.
If you don't win a national championship, you had a bad year. And I have a lot of respect for Coach Bryant and Coach Saban for being. The one thing I will say, they don't rebuild; they just reload. Those when you can take all these young men and develop them each year, you're going to lose some seniors, you're going to lose some kids who want to transfer now that you got the transfer portal. You got to go out there and recruit day in and day out. Now everybody has the same measures that Coach Saban has, because when I look at Dabo and Clemson, and I call Clemson Alabama East, so don't get upset when I say that, because that's what it is. Clemson is Alabama East. You got coaches who know how to win. They know how to recruit. They know how to motivate. So it's going to be the top of the heap each year. When you look at Alabama, Clemson, you're going to look at Georgia, you're going to see LSU, you're going to see Ohio State. Those teams have the same formula because they've competed against each other for so many years. That's what it takes to win. You're going to have those caliber of young men and a standard that's set by a coach, a coaching staff, the university, and the administration to do that. It's a culture that's built. It's not given to you. So to be spoiled and to be an elite team is because you have created that culture. And that culture is, a lot of programs don't give the culture time to build. That's what, as a coach, that's what I want to do. I want to build a program. I don't want to have a football team. I want to build a program. Programs are built by the culture that you set, install, and it takes a while to build. You can't build it in 2 years, 3 years. Some places you can, but most places it's a process. And once that process is established, it will grow, and it will sustain itself. And Alabama has had great athletic directors. They've had great fan support. They've had great coaches. They've had great players. When you look at Nick Saban's staff, He's lost everybody on the staff since he first got there, including now the strength and conditioning coach. So I don't think there's anybody who started with Nick who's still there. Unlike when Coach Bryant was there, our same coaching staff stayed intact pretty much. Now, the coaches are going on to be head coaches, which is what you want. You want people to want what you have. And Coach Saban has done a great job in replacing the people and building the culture. So Alabama fans have a right to be spoiled a little bit because he's established the culture. And winning is, contagious. That's what you want to do.
EJ Jr., final question. Playing defense in the current time that we live in college football or high school football or the NFL, we're seeing the game evolve. Mobile quarterbacks, extending the plays, the RPOs. You think it's harder to play defense now, or maybe we're just making something out of nothing? What do you see from the game from your eyes?
It's a little more because of the way that you play the game. You're definitely protecting the quarterbacks more. You can't hit them in certain ways. You can't, the helmet-to-helmet contact. You're dressing these kids, softening them up a little bit. But I understand with the concussion and all, and the fear of CTE and all that. You can't be as physical with these guys, but it's unfortunate. Football is a violent sport, but so is basketball. So is field hockey. So is hockey. You're going to have concussions. Girls are going to get concussions from playing soccer. So you can only protect, for those who choose to play the game, it's a violent sport. But to try to defend everything, and that you didn't used to have to defend the quarterback as much because you ran the option. But now you got the quarterback, quarterback ISOs, and your safety is 10 yards down the field because he's playing one high coverage or he's playing deep zone. Well, that's your 11th person versus the quarterback who's already in the box. So it's a little more hard. It's harder to defend a little bit, but you have to have guys who can make plays and get off a block, and it's called you got to somebody has to make a play in that front 10. And you pray that you call the right defenses or you put the right pressures or you got everybody filling the gap and everybody's doing their job and you can shut it down. So it's gone to more of a passing league because it looks so fancy. But your championship teams still have to run the football. You got to grind it out. You have to have great defense and you have to play great special teams.
EJ Jr., from all of us here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama fans, we celebrate former players. It's been, as you said, a long time coming. It's always fun to be able to visit with you here in Tuscaloosa. Congratulations from all of us here in Tuscaloosa for being inducted or will be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Well deserved, job well done. Thanks for being an ambassador of the University of Alabama. I've always enjoyed the chats with you, and today is no different. Thank you for being part of our show today on such a very special occasion. The public announcement, ESPN2, earlier today, as he will be enshrined into the College Football Hall of Fame. EJ Jr., congrats, my friend. Enjoy your day, sir.
Thank you, Riley. You be blessed, and God continue to be with you in your program.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. EJ Jr., the All-American from the University of Alabama, inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. You know that box or the way that he said, and EJ, for those who may or may not know, EJ is a pastor also and shares the gospel of Jesus Christ. So always fun to be able to visit with EJ Jr. talking about Coach Paul Bear Bryant. And a lot right there on the game, even talking Greg Burns. Said he got a phone call from Greg Burns a few minutes ago congratulating him on the success. A lot of fun to be able to celebrate with EJ Jr.